Yeah, hello guys, happy Christmas, happy New Year. Just before we get started, just a heads up, this is a course-based session, so we're doing a repeat of the climb up to the velodrome session, which we did about 4 or 5 weeks ago. So yeah, you're going to want the Little Loops course on Training Peaks Virtual again. If you're not using Training Peaks Virtual, then find an equivalent climb, your sort of 2 to 3 minute climb on whatever platform you're using, and then just follow the same structure. We're going to be doing 5 reps today. Last time we did 4. And before you start, you should have made a note last time what your benchmarking rep was up whatever climb you're using. So make sure you check what your time was last time. I think mine last time was 2 minutes and 4 seconds. 6 weeks with a baby, not quite sure I'm going to be getting anywhere near that, but we'll give it a go. We'll get started. So I just wanted to give you a little heads up before we get going. So I'll get going in a few seconds. Okay. So just pause this, or get ready, whatever you need to do, and we'll get ready to go in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Off we go. Okay, so we've got a really nice long warm up. We're doing the Little Loops course. We're going to do a full lap of that course. Usually takes around 10 to 13 minutes or something like that. You don't need to be too prescriptive over a power target. Just super easy to start with, and then we're going to build up through zone 2. But yeah, the first rep that we will do up the climb will be a sighter rep. We always do a sighter rep as an extension of the warm-up, but if you're doing it on the road, it's also gives you a chance to check for any hazards, any potholes, etc., check your gearing. So yeah, we'll do a sighter rep first as an extension of the warm-up, and that'll just be kind of like, opening the legs, not full gas. Then we'll turn around, go back down the climb, and I'll remember to exit the velodrome this time. And then we'll do the full benchmarking rep, so full gas, followed by another 3 conditioning reps. And those reps, I'm not looking necessarily to get too close to the benchmarking time, but nonetheless, we'll be going for it. Okay, so 5 reps in total, and our chat this time. So if you're not going to stay with me, you don't necessarily need to stay watching this for the full session. Particularly, I'll definitely recommend staying for the sighter and benchmarking rep, just so that you fully understand exactly what you're doing, and particularly if you're doing it on Training Peaks Virtual, so you can see just a little reminder of where the start and finish of the climb is, and also we'll stay for the chat, which I think is an important one. Today's chat, which I'm going to start momentarily, is from Tom, and it's what to focus on kind of post goal event in terms of recovery, how to make sure you heal up quickly. So I'm going to be going through that now. I'm going to do it all at the beginning of the session, so that if you do want to drop off, you hopefully I'll cover it mostly in the warm-up. I actually think this is a massively important subject, and also one that is very underserved in terms of research. I can't really say of any sort of major study that's looked at like cycles of recovery after a goal event, and how to promote recovery and sort of managing fatigue from like a multi-season perspective. Generally speaking, it tends to be a bit more micro, a bit more focused than that, and tends to be about the immediate recovery, or recovering kind of in the off season, or kind of the impact of endurance sport, ultra distance events on the body in the long term. Enlarged heart, all that sort of stuff, high risk of cardiac arrest in super fit athletes, footballers dropping down on the pitch, having a heart attack, that sort of stuff. Not really how you kind of back up season after season and recover from goal events to get ready for the next one. But I do tend to complicate things though, because for me, it can be just approached very simply with regard to 2 different time frames: the immediate recovery or short-term recovery, and then the longer, deep-seated recovery over the next sort of weeks, months, depending on what you're doing. Both are important for everyone, and just the emphasis just kind of depends on where you are in the season as to what your immediate and sort of longer term recovery looks like. So we're going to view this through the lens of, finishing a series of races, like a cyclocross season or crit season, / you've just done your big Ironman that you've been training for 6 months. So it's basically like the end of your season. Effectively, you've done everything you set out to do. All right. So we'll start with the immediate recovery, and I'm going to be annoying and start talking about the impact of fueling your race and what that can have on recovery very shortly, because we have actually talked about that at length in another session. But basically, if you don't fuel your race properly, whether that's not carb loading beforehand or if it's a long race, not hitting that 80 to 100 grams of carb per hour mark, your body will not have enough fuel to feed the engine, and that means it will leach calories, leach energy from elsewhere, from the body basically, and begin to break down protein for energy, things like that. So basically, if you don't eat properly before and or during your big goal event, your body will sustain more damage, and then you'll need more recovery. So that's just like a little reminder about fueling your race. Otherwise, that immediate and potentially the longer term recovery, depending on the seriousness of the situation, will take longer. But once you've done your goal event, in terms of immediate recovery, the focus has to be on 3 things, and they're all obvious. Firstly, getting a big hit of protein on to start the process of structural repair. And I see this in 2 parts. Firstly, it's probably one of the most obvious cases for a protein shake, even if you're not one for supplements. Getting that real fast absorbed protein on board immediately after a bigger race, it's maybe the strongest case for it. Fast absorbed protein, try and undo some of the damage. Then look to consume some slower absorbed protein that will drip feed into your system, and that's that's something like your lean meats, veggie proteins, and your dairy proteins, etc. Stuff that will just kind of drip feed protein over a longer period. The second thing is replenishing carb stores. Even if you fueled it perfectly, your engine will still be firing once you're finished. So you kind of got to fuel that, but also replenish the glycogen stores that you've burned. It doesn't actually matter too much what the form is. So big event, end of season, hit the pizza. Whatever's at hand. You don't need to overthink it too much. You just need carbs. You just get them on board. It doesn't matter whether high GI, low GI. You need them on board straight away. It doesn't matter too much the form, but do keep an eye on the final focus, which is rehydrating. And during super intense or elongated ultra racing, whatever, it's pretty impossible to consume enough fluid to perfectly match your output, i.e. what you sweat out and what you lose through increased breathing rate. So you will need to hydrate. And I said a moment ago about keeping a focus on rehydration when replenishing your carbs, because of course carbohydrate is great for assisting rehydration, as it acts as a vector for fluid transfer. However, if those carbs are super salty, that can frustrate the process, and you need to understand the delineation between salt and sodium. Sodium chloride, you don't really want the chloride element, you want the sodium. And so like table salt, really salty foods, it's not actually really what you want for hydration purposes. It's actually going to dehydrate you. Okay, so by all means hit the pizza and treat the food immediately after your race as a treat, as something you've earned. But I would really strongly discourage like a day-long binge, and definitely really discourage drinking alcohol, because that again will dehydrate you. And alcohol has like a preventative impact when it comes to absorbing nutrients. It's actually something I don't know that much about. I know it does. Something I need to remind myself on. So yeah, and that dehydration or lack of rehydration is often where that post-event headache comes from. Can also just be down to the stress of the event, changes in blood pressure, etc. But dehydration or lack of rehydration is also quite a strong factor there. So after your goal race, the priority is replenishing your supplies to heal. Tom also asked about things like stretching, rolling, massage immediately afterwards. Now, if the event is something short like a crit or a cross race, like an hour, 2 hours long, then I suggest not stretching immediately afterwards, but later in the day, once you've gotten home, fed, and had a hot shower. You don't need to go crazy, just lifting off the key areas, more mobilizing exercises maybe, rather than kind of static stretches. Maybe just whilst watching TV, taking your time over it, and mostly floor-based stretches to keep your heart rate down. And yeah, you probably can't be asked to do much more than that after end of the season, after a big race. When it comes to doing like an ultra event, Ironman, ultra marathon, don't bother stretching. No point. You will have done so much muscle damage and soft tissue damage. Your muscles will just be full of crap, basically. You may well just do more damage. So yeah, don't bother stretching straight after. Try and stay a bit mobile if you can, stay active, to help flush the crap out. But yeah, realistically, you're just done. So rest up, get a good night's sleep, but then maybe look to do a bit of mobility work the next day. It's really super light yoga, light stretching after a shower again. But your priority really in the days after an ultra event are just about, resting up, releasing tension in the muscles, but definitely not going kind of really deep in a yoga sesh or, static stretching to reintroduce flexibility. That's a while away for you. The muscles are damaged, you've got to let them recover. So you just want to maybe ease up a little bit, rather than stretch as such. Massage is another common question I get for post-race recovery. There is a limited amount that massage can do, as really the muscles kind of need to be left alone to repair, but a light massage can be amazing for kind of flushing out some of the waste products of intense exercise and promote repair and recovery. And that's why the Tour de France guys do it after every stage of the race. So yeah, that's your short-term immediate recovery. We've got this kind of first rep coming up. Okay, so this is just a leg opener. So it starts where the ballards are. You can see them coming up. I'm going to start a timer just so you can kind of see what we're dealing with. So when these pillars come up, that's the start of the recce rep. Here we go. So I'm not going to explode, not going to sprint. I'm just going to look to open up the legs and just kind of take stock of what this climb is like. And I just encourage you, if you're not doing this on TPV or if you're doing it when you're doing these reps outside, use this first warm-up rep to really take note of what the climb is like. So at the moment, steady, it was 2, now it's gone up to 3%. And then let's go up to 4% at some point, I think. But we're doing this climb because it is relatively steady. And one way you can put down consistent power. So, first hairpin. Just keeping an eye on my heart rate. I want to stay sub-threshold. This is the second hairpin, one more hairpin, and then what I usually do when I'm really going for it, I'll try and sprint out the second hairpin. It's just about doable sprint wise. About 20 odd seconds or so. Okay, let's come up to the final hairpin. So normally what I'll do is, and I'll try and do this in a bit, I'll then get out the saddle and look to finish the rep off really hard. And then take note. So the timer stops when we turn onto the velodrome, when the tarmac changes colour. So right there. Okay, that's the end of the rep. Now on this first time, I don't need to turn off. Actually, I'm going to double check. I'm going to make sure when you get sort of like the far side of the velodrome, usually you get a turn off sign, an indicator. So you do have to be ready for it. I'm just going to make sure that the right direction is selected. Yeah, exit. So when I did this last time, I kept forgetting to press exit. So this will take us down the velodrome, and then we'll do a little U-turn. But whilst we're kind of just recovering back down the hill, on this first one I am going to go a bit further just so I can finish the chat, so if people want to disappear they can do so. But normally what I would do is I turn around and come back up kind of at the bottom of the climb. But we'll go on a little bit further because I'll just talk a little bit about the longer term recovery of recovering from an A race. And crazily enough, it's time for a fan. Had the heater on a moment ago. So beyond the first couple of days post event, you do want to start thinking longer term about your recovery. Typically your goal race will be the end of the season, but sometimes it's not. Sometimes you do an early season race, particularly if it's like Ironman or something, ultra marathon, and there might be some action still to be had. You know, lower priority races, but you know, races nonetheless. It doesn't actually matter what the scenario is, because after your goal race, you're going to need an extended period of recovery, a longer period than normal to get back to neutral. And how long that period is depends on the scenario, but it has one goal: say, get you back to neutral, get you fully recovered, so that you can build again. Okay, I find that short-term recovery, people tend to get that. They can see the practicalities of it, they understand that. But the longer-term recovery is one that people can struggle with, because you know, training is part of their lifestyle, and taking a long break from that messes with their routine and their lifestyle, and I get it. But I cannot stress enough, full recovery after a big event is an absolute non-negotiable. I have never parted ways myself with an athlete. It's always been the other way around for various reasons. But I've never dropped an athlete before. But the times I've been close, it's always been because they refuse to take a full break from training post their goal event. And it's because you cannot, and the reason I've had this attitude is because you cannot build if your body is still repairing. Massive endurance events or long drawn out race series do serious deep seated damage, which you might not be aware of. Your muscles, they'll repair in a matter of days. But you will have done damage to your soft tissue, you might experience some bone thinning, particularly if it's just cycling, the lack of weight bearing exercise. Inflammation on your respiratory system, your immune system will have been battered. And so, I've only parted ways with athletes only in this context because they refused or bodged their longer term recovery, snuck in training, not uploaded it to Training Peaks or something like that, lied about it, or and the reason it's so important to me is because it signals to me that they actually might have an exercise addiction, and that can end so badly. And if they don't heed my warnings, I need to step away. There's injury, serious illness, and just bad feeling towards me. I've had that before actually, where someone has ignored me. It all ended up fine in the end, but they ignored me, and then they got resentful to me because their performance stopped improving, and they hadn't had a break really. They bodged it. But yeah, anyway, what the long-term recovery looks like depends on the situation. It could involve complete cessation of training, it could involve some active recovery, it could involve some cross-training, depends on the person. And one thing I would just say about longer-term recovery, more of a practical piece of advice, and I'm not trying to shame anyone or encourage any weirdness around food, but I would really encourage you to get back to normal eating habits within a day or two of the event. And I say this from personal experience, because what often happens is if you kind of loosen things too much and you go on like a mega binge thinking that you're making up for all the naughty food that you passed on, it's kind of one or two things, maybe both. One, you put on a ton of weight, which then when the time comes when the time comes get back into training and performing, it's just so much harder to get back into it. Particularly running, there's actually an injury risk there as well. Just great more weight and the weight bearing. So I'm going to turn my dude around now, and I'm going to start to head back to the velodrome for our benchmarking rep. But I'll just continue the chat. And the second reason why you might want to be a bit strict with yourself to get back on the balanced eating, not to make it healthy or anything, just balanced, is because after a big event often comes the blues. You've finally conquered that big event you were doing. The guy's not meant to turn there. What's he? Okay. Let me say around again. So this is why this next session can often be a little bit messy. Yeah, so now I want to go south please. There we go. Blues can often come after a big event that you finally conquered, because suddenly there's nothing ahead of you, nothing to work towards, and also you're just shattered and probably horrifically fatigued, and so that can leave you feeling a bit low. And if on top of that you've also put weight on, not feeling great within yourself, it can spiral. Or can lead to making poor decisions, like training and racing again before you're ready to return and still fatigued, because you think that will make you feel better. And I say this all from personal experience. I've done this probably more than once, more than reasonable. I've been there. I've done it. Don't do it. A couple of days, give yourself a couple of days and then get back on eating normally. As I say, not going mega healthy, but just kind of eating normally again. Because otherwise, the weight gain, not necessarily even if you don't put on weight, just that feeling that comes with eating crap makes you feel shit within yourself. And then if on top of that you've got not doing any exercise, you've got nothing to aim for, as I say, it can really impact your mental health. So just take that one from me. So anyway, I think pretty much finished my chat because we're now going to go smash a benchmarking rep, or at least try to. Interesting to see. Oh, wrong direction again. Anyway, I'm not going to complain. Should have been paying attention. Was that selected? Is he going to turn? Sorry, bear with me one second. Sorry for the swearing. Let's turn him around. I hate all this direction nonsense with Training Peaks. It's the same with Zwift, isn't it? Let's face it. I just hate all of it. Just give me a bloody route and let me ride. Okay, right direction. Now I'm going to have to navigate to the velodrome. Anyway, I've lacked specificity when it comes to longer term recovery because basically it's all about getting your body back to neutral and not rushing back into it before you're generally ready. And what that looks like is very individual. But at one point I would make is you will know when you're ready. Okay, similar to coming back from illness, you'll know when you're ready subconsciously. And so if you're umming and ahhing about whether to get back in training, that isn't being ready. That is not being ready. You will be feeling, you'll be champing at the bit. And that's where you want to get back to. Not just because you feel guilty, not just because you feel like you should be doing something. It's wanting to do something. And those are two very different things. And that's something that, just said a bit of patter before we start the benchmarking rep. That's something I'm to manage at the moment, is not much sleep, baby, and so I'm having to pretty much on a daily basis make a decision about training and exercise as to whether it's I want to do it or if it's because I feel I should. And that's a bit of a challenge at the moment. I think I've been on the right side of it most times. There is always that. Is it because I'm tired and generally need a break, or is it just because I can't be arsed? I struggle training in the evenings. I'm a morning person, a day person. Anyway, right. So we've got the benchmarking rep coming up. Remember to turn off. Reset my to the velodrome. Reset my stopwatch. And let's see how close I can get. So before you start, you do want to just rev the legs up a little bit, so that you're not starting from nothing. It's a 2+ minute effort, so build into it. Don't go too crazy at the start, but where these pillars start, that's the beginning of the rep. Okay, off we go. So I'm out the saddle just to get it going. It starts off pretty steady to begin with. This climb always lasts longer than you think it does. This is up to about 3%. I'm just going to try and keep the power steady. Try and keep the cadence high. Rely on a fast finish. First set. Then eases off a touch. Down to 2%. Second hairpin. And increase the power touch. Final hairpin. Okay, now it's time to go deep. Oh. Ah. Oh yeah. 201, happy with that. It's 204 last time. And I reckon if I hadn't been dicking around with my mouse that's run out of batteries and stayed on it, I think that would have been 2 minutes. But it's definitely a hesitation at the end there. Yeah, so pleased with that. So that's the benchmarking rep done. Now, that doesn't mean the rest of the reps are going to be easy. We've got 3 more to do. And this time, we're not going to carry on talking. I'm going to turn around at the bottom of the hill. So if you're on TPV, I stick around just so you can see where my turn point is. I'm not going to do much more in the way of chatter. Very welcome to stay with me. I will keep recording until I've done my next few reps. Really to keep myself honest. And I'll do a little recap of what I've talked about at the end. So if you do stay to the end and need a refresh, so you can strip your memory bare and do a recap at the end. Racing down the hill. On the recovery, keep your legs turning over. Same chat as always. Get your breath back. Bring your cadence back above 80. And then just look to steadily build the power back up to like a 1 or 2 out of 10. You know, sort of 40, 50% of FTP sort of situation. Really nice and light. Just help flush out some of the lactate. Then when I get to the bottom, we're going to turn left. Then a set of bollards. That's always a helpful place to kind of mark your turnaround. So carry on all the way to the bottom. I'm going to sprint up my legs a little bit more. I can't believe I beat 204. That's nuts. Or like I must be fresh, because I'm definitely not fitter. Or like there was a tailwind or something. Probably was a bit of a tailwind. Right. Yes, it's going left. Okay, so you knock these bollards, these are the start. We go straight on and then just round the bend a little bit. Just another set. It's a general rule, you know, it's a bare minimum when you're doing a set like this. You kind of want double what the interval length was. It really depends as that, you know, many of our sections don't do that, might do more or less. So these are, okay, turn around. So yeah, those are the bollards. I know it's just because I'm not using training peaks that much at the moment because my lack of training, but I find all this stuff so frustrating. It's almost everything to do with software. I find it's so often illogical, and you wonder whether the people that design actually use their product. Same gripes with RGT, and that was even worse because, you know, I was working with them on quite a few things, particularly on the training side, and it's just the UI. Anyway, right, not going to whinge. Right, so remember, these bullards, these are the start of the climb. Okay, so starting to open up. Sprinting, but get to a good power. Stick and hold. But I just find the third rep, the rep after the benchmarking one, it's always a bit gammy. So just do your best, make sure you keep leg speed high. Can't go so deep and then let's just got to start my time. Damn it, I thought I had. First hairpin. Down to 2%. With the power. That's the second hairpin. Okay, lift. Try and lift the power a bit. Now just sprint out the turn. Okay. Oh, this is nuts. Three down. Two more. Okay, look, the turn. Get the breath back. Start to increase the cadence. Loop, exit, exit. Slowly increasing the power again. Get back to a recovery level, but just chill. Oh, that third one's always the worst. Fine, the next ones, they're horrible, but you kind of, the ego is gone, so to speak. So you're just kind of running with what you got. Makes it a little bit simple. Rolling down the hill again. Penultimate rep. Always like thinking those terms. But I do love these hill rep sessions. Obviously, much prefer them outside. But I prefer so much, you know. If I try to do the equivalent 2-minute efforts, the timer running, you know, like we did a session we did recently, I find that so much harder. Having even a virtual kind of finishing line, I find it so much more motivating definitely kind of engages a different part of my brain. So I do love these stretches, because basically what we're doing is 5 times, okay, turn to the right way. What we're basically doing is 5 times 2 minutes, or 2 to 3 minutes, depending on what climb you're doing. That's what we're doing basically. But because we're doing it on a climb, variable resistance on the terrain, because we've got a finish line, for me anyway, you may not agree, it just makes it a totally different experience and makes it feel like it goes a lot quicker. Right, if you're ready to go, if my U-turn, the bollards come up just behind around the bend here. Turn my doing around. I'll get ready for rep number 4. Next time I need to remember to press my timer. Another drink. Rev the legs up a little bit, get a bit of heat muscles in the muscles. Missed my timer this time. Okay, ready to go. Hold to it, rep. Timer on. Here we go. Try and hit it with a really high cadence this time. First hit. Can happen. Try and increase the power a bit. Got the sprint out of the corner. Oh, good job. 2 minutes and 12. Oh. And that's what a lack of fitness does. No second drop off there. So, when I did this last time, I think my subsequent reps were around 2 minutes 7, 2 minutes 8, and relatively consistent. See, I don't know what I did on the one before last, but yeah, say last time I did this, about 2 minutes 7, 2 minutes 8 on the subsequent efforts. So yeah, it just demonstrates what when you're lacking fitness, how it manifests itself. They're really good benchmarking rep. Really pleased with that. Still got some power, but don't have the ability to back it up just yet, which is fine. Honestly, it's fine. Stop asking, it's fine. Anyway, right, so we've just got one more rep to do. Try and at least replicate 2 minutes 12. So, cadence is back above 8C. Power, wait, increase it just yet. Still need a moment. I'll start to look to get back to sort of around 130, 140 watts. Spin up from. Well done, guys. Just one more rep, and you're done. Oh, power's dropped way too much. That's right. So, good. Turn around the bullards. One last rep. Getting ready to turn around to hit that bullard. Okay, right. So, try and weight the legs up a little bit. One last rep, one last push. Let's do this, guys. So, set my timer. Let's go. Okay, off we go. Chin up, shoulders down, all the basics right. High cadence. Come on, first step in. Happen. Trying to increase the power a little bit. Final sprint coming up. Okay, okay. Oh man. Oh, not good. Okay. Loosen the shoes a little bit, just get back in my feet. It's time to just spin up. Keep spinning up around the velodrome. So I can keep my power consistent. Flush out the legs. Catch my breath and I'll do a quick run through of what I talked about. Oh. Okay. So, talk about recovering after a goal race. Let's do that. So there's two kind of elements to it: immediate recovery and sort of longer term get back to full recovery, so to speak, for beans. So with the immediate recovery, remember, it's kind of like the immediate things you need to replenish. High protein meal, so probably a protein shake straight afterwards. Practicality wise, needs to be something you can take with you. Then some slower release protein, lean meat, poultry, veggie proteins, soya, tofu, dairy proteins, whatever, to kind of drip feed the protein in to kind of keep that repair going. Replenish your carb stores. Doesn't matter immediately after set the race kind of what form that carb takes, but just remember what I was saying about rehydration, because that is the third key element to immediate recovery. Rehydrating. Okay. And then talk very quickly about stretching, rolling, and massage. Stretching and rolling, I wouldn't do it immediately. Do it in the evening once you got home, had a hot shower and stuff. Probably wouldn't bother rolling. I would just stretch. And I mentioned about massage. Very good to have a light massage, maybe if you can get it the evening of or the day after, good, but it's not going to break fibers up so much. It's going to be just flushing the muscles out, getting some of the crap out of them, waste products. And then longer term recovery, it's all about getting you right back to neutral, getting you back to a place where you're really energized and champing at the bit to train, basically. And it should be a non-negotiable. It's not something you can skimp. It's not something you can budge. And it takes as long as it takes. And yeah, just remember, it's very individual and it's very scenario specific. But you should be getting to a state where you really want to do it, and not because you feel you should, but because you feel guilty, because it's part of your lifestyle generally. You got to be disciplined on that. Okay, so you can come very unstuck if you ignore the need real structural recovery. Those deep-seated damage due to soft tissue, joints, respiratory system, immune system, blah blah blah. It's not obvious stuff. It's not stuff that you necessarily notice. It's there and it cannot be messed with. And I talked about trying to get back to good, healthy, kind of balanced eating as quickly as possible after the first day or so, because that can lead to a bit of a mental health spiral, either because of weight gain or just because you're not feeling very good within yourself and then not training as well and stuff. It can all kind of stack on top of each other. Yeah, I've not been super specific on the long-term recovery stuff because I will of course help you with that, but it's just, I think, something to get really kind of straight in your mind, that it takes as long as it takes. It's not something I or you can do anything about it as such. You know, we can do active recovery and things like that, of course, to help speed the process up, but it still takes as long as it takes. And there's only one loser if you don't get back to neutral. That's you. Anyway, on that super cheery note, yeah, cheers for your company, and I'll see you next time. Really well done, and don't forget to send me your times. Good job, guys.